Schweinsteiger. A little bit of space now for Martial. When he's round Fernandes, can he pull it back? Rooney! The captain on the score sheet to restore Manchester United's lead.
Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Chronicles Express with me, Andy from the Red Devil Chronicle. This week, Captain Wayne sinks the Swans, leaving United unbeaten in the new year. Don't say we don't try to be positive on the show. United chat coming up next. Hello, welcome along and Happy New Year to you all then. It's just me, Andy from the Red Devil Chronicle with you this week. Unfortunately the studio not currently available as it's been shut over the Christmas period, but we are hoping to have Nick and producer Joe back with us, hopefully in the next week, if not the week after. As you'll hear though from the sound quality, I have invested in a microphone, so at least you'll be able to hear what I'm saying, hopefully this week. And I'm going to kick off the Chronicles Express show this week with the weekend fixture that's just gone. That, of course, against Swansea City. Manchester United 2, Swansea City 1. A great win for Manchester United. Finally some positives after 8 games without a win in all competition. And I think it gives us a great chance now to go and put a run of results together at a crucial stage of the season as we did last year. Of course, you'll remember it in March to secure us top 4. We are going to be in that race again, battling to get in top 4, unfortunately, with the way the club has been managed over the last sort of 8 to 12 months. But I do think we can get there, and I think this was a great way of getting us started. Not all positives, of course. Swansea could have on another day easily grabbed a draw, and that would have probably been Louis van Gaal gone. But as it was, we dug in, we fought back, and we did get the 3 points. That's the important thing at the end of the day. Results are the most important thing. Performances hopefully will come, but we just need to keep in that race for the top 4 and hopefully turn it into a title challenge. I doubt it, but if we're there, come the end of March, then who's to say that we can't go on and win it? It's been a really poor Premier League season, so why don't we go and grow ourselves a win from out of nowhere? Moving on to the game though, looking at it in further detail, both centre-forwards of course scored on the day, something we've not seen for a while. Great to see Anthony Martial and Wayne Rooney both scoring. Not happened nearly enough, and it's down to a problem that Alan Shearer pointed out on Match of the Day. Really basic. But Wayne Rooney and Anthony Martial have not been getting themselves in the box enough, not getting enough touches in the opposition area. They've been too often drifting out into other areas. Martial out onto the wing, Wayne Rooney back to centre-back or wherever he fancies, just knocking balls around. It's just not been good enough for players that we are classing as our centre-forward options. So it was great to see them back in dangerous areas and great to see them back amongst the goals as well. And there was a lot more positivity, not only in their play, but in United's in general. Something that we saw signs of in 20-25 minutes early doors against Chelsea, of course, the week before. But in terms of the way the game went, Martial, again, the main threat, always looking positive, taking it to players, looking to take on a man and run at the defence. He's never afraid in that situation. And I think that started to spread a little bit. We saw Ashley Young more adventurous down the right-hand side, unfortunately still being used as sort of a makeshift right and left back because Louis van Gaal has not planned in terms of the squad depth very well. And of course, with the injuries at the moment, he's just being used as a utility player. Very sad to see, but Ashley Young was brilliant on the day against Swansea, well worth a mention. His final ball has been called into question regularly, and I'm not surprised. It quite rightly has been brought to the fore. But on Saturday against Swansea, he was excellent going forward. He put a couple of great balls in, 2 chances in particular I remember for Wayne Rooney that he put right on his head. Before, of course, he then set up Anthony Martial's goal with the ball in the second half. So great to see from him, and I think Ashley Young should be given more of an opportunity to play further up the pitch at United. As I say, I think he's being wasted where he is. He's done a great job for us at the right back position and left back, but with the form of other players, why not give him a go further up the pitch? He's willing to take on a man. He's expressive, he's expansive, he's quick, he knocks the ball round a man. He isn't afraid, and that's been the problem. United going forward have been afraid, so why not give him a go? Let's bring in some backup, a left back or someone who's versatile, someone that can play left back or right back as cover, and let's let Ashley Young off his leash. Let's get him up the pitch and see what he can do, because people have been criticising his end product, but there was some there on Saturday. So let's give him the chance to do that long term, build a bit of confidence. Despite looking good going forward, though, something that still continues to frustrate, worry me, concern me with United going forward is how much of a game we let go past us before we start to play. We looked a lot better on Saturday, but yet again, a goalless first half. Now, the last player to score in the first half at Old Trafford for United this season was Juan Mata. That was back in September. So we are letting games slip by. We are getting desperate in the second half of games, and that's why I think we have been picked off by sides like Norwich at home, and why teams like, even as early on as Newcastle, came close to nicking it in the final moments of games. We are getting desperate, we are letting games pass us by, and we are starting to play too late into a game. That is a big concern for me still, and that is something that we definitely need to address. I don't know how we go about that. We have been starting fairly quickly. I just think we need to start taking chances more often. We need a bit more bite up front, perhaps, in a new forward. Certainly plenty of options being batted around in those areas at the moment within the January transfer window. If we can sign anyone, it'd be great to have some backup and great to take some responsibility away from a couple of players. Wayne Rooney's had a lot of pressure lumped on him this season. He's our only experienced centre-forward, really, in the squad, and therefore all the pressure has gone to him, and all the criticism as a result has gone to him as well. Quite unfair, really, when you consider that Van Gaal has left him without any sort of realistic long-term strike partner for the time being. Anthony Martial, a superb talent, but very young, and beyond that, we lack any depth in terms of goal scorers. So certainly a winger that could come on and grab more goals. Juan Mata used to do that role, has faded in that area this season. Memphis, of course, hasn't worked out so far. Ander Herrera, if he plays, he is capable of doing that from midfield, but we do need more people to chip in, so that is something we should certainly be looking into. At the back, still shaky from United in parts, as you've come to expect, with the lack of options that we have, with the lack of availability of players, and again, coming down to depth issues once again. If you look at the game, Darmian, he had a poor game again, and this has been a problem that's ongoing now for a while. Created, I think, root cause by Louis van Gaal. Darmian's confidence is completely shot at the moment. Had a fantastic start to the season, looked brilliant in the early stages. Then, of course, there was that performance he had in the Arsenal debacle against Alexis Sanchez. Since then, he's been readily removed from the team and dropped. He's been taken off at half-time, given the Paddy McNair treatment. And I think his confidence has completely gone. He's almost become ruined as a player. Not the first, I might add, to happen under Louis van Gaal. I think Darmian is a very capable player, but he did have a bad time of it. There were a couple of attempted clearances that he got totally wrong that gave Swansea great chances in key areas. Of course, Swansea's goal when they came out and had to play against us, Barrow turning too easily to play the ball in for Sigurdsson, who of course scored the header for the equaliser. Again, a poor game from him, but I think we need to keep hold of Darmian. I've been reading reports that Bayern Munich, Juventus, clubs like that are sniffing around for Darmian, looking at him as a potential option in the summer. That says it all for me. If that doesn't prove to you that he isn't long-term a very good player to have at United, I don't know what will. In terms of world-class right-backs, I mean, there are very few positions in world football that have a lot of top-drawer or world-class players in them at the moment, and right-back is certainly no exception. Very few good players in that position at the moment at the top level. When United were looking into signing a new right-back during the summer window, Dani Alves was mentioned, who, of course, is getting on a bit now. He ended up, of course, staying at Barcelona. And the only other player that I seem to remember being mentioned was Nathaniel Klein, and look what he's doing at Liverpool. So, we have to stick with Darmian. Yes, confidence is low at the moment, and yes, he's been out of form, but we need to stick with him. He's clearly a very talented individual, very versatile as well, which is important, and I know something that Louis van Gaal does like about him. but we need to stick by him, despite the fact that he has, as I say, had some off games of late. He wasn't the only one at the back either. Daley Blind looked a little bit shaky and indecisive. Yet again, proving for me that he isn't a viable long-term centre-back option. Yes, he's done an incredible job and a much better job at the back than anyone ever could have anticipated he would have done there. But when you look at some of the decisions he makes, it's a little bit rocky. It gives players from the opposition chances, and we still are going to struggle against pace whilst we've got Daley Blind at the back. So I think that's a really big area that United need to look into, reinforcing the wing-back areas on the pitch and bringing in a new centre-back option as well, just to strengthen it up, just to give us more options so that we can let players like Ashley Young move forward, as I say, and so that we have got other options. So if players are having a bit of a bad time of it or are losing confidence at the time, then we have got someone in that can come in readily and sort of fill that gap without it being a drop in the standard that we have. However, as I say, rounding off with the United chat, it was a win, and it was a very important win. Big 3 points for Manchester United moving forward. We've got the FA Cup to distract us this weekend, but then it's Newcastle, it's Liverpool, Southampton coming up in February. We're away at Stamford Bridge. We have Arsenal at Old Trafford. There are some big games coming up in the next month or so, and we are going to need key results in those games. So we got the win. We've got the start of form available to us. We've stopped the rot. Can we go on and push forward and make sure that the top four at the very least is ours, and potentially even challenge for the title? Let us know at We Follow United on Twitter. Next, we're going to go into some of your views from Twitter on this Monday's Fan Takeover. So every Monday we ask you some of the big questions surrounding Manchester United and have some great debates fired around from 12 p.m. Through the afternoon. So if you ever want to get involved in United debate, join us on the Fan Takeover. That's every Monday from 12 o'clock. I'm going to start this week's Fan Takeover with a question that we put out following the Swansea game. You've heard what I've had to say about the game. I wanted to run through what some of the fans had to say following it. We asked you to give us your one-line review and score out of 10 for the performance against Swansea after, of course, United finally got their win. Couple of opinions that came in on this one. We've got at Big C75, a win at last, but it's just papering over the cracks. Didn't give us a score out of 10 for that one, but I imagine a pretty bang average one, judging from what he had to say. At John C. Batty, philosophy temporarily ignored, 7 out of 10. It was parked to one side for parts of the games, which was refreshing, but I think again comes back to the fact that, as Big C75 says, it is papering over cracks that still exist in United's squad. At Sirius 1 says, that skipper's goal, 7 out of 10. It was great to see Wayne Rooney finally step up. He's coming for a lot of stick, as I mentioned in the United chat. And to step up and pull us out of a potential points drop situation again with a moment of magic, something we haven't seen from him for 5-6 years now. Great to see, and I hope there are still moments like that in for him. I hope he proves us wrong, because there's been a lot of doubters, ourselves included, that Wayne Rooney is losing form as well as class. He is getting on. Miles are on the clock, and it did seem like it was heading that way. So it was great to see. Performance wasn't brilliant on the day from Wayne Rooney. It was good. It was steady. But he was in the right place. 5-6 weeks ago, you'd have probably seen him stood in the centre of midfield. He'd have been the one playing the pass into Schweinsteiger before it went on to Martial, and there'd have been no one in the box. So credit to Rooney, got in the right area. At C. Clay 1978 United, a steady 6. Last 2 games have been glimpses of what we can do. Great finish to Rooney, absolutely. Interesting one from Matt Trufan, Man United. He goes 2 out of 10. Shocking. Please do comment to us. That's Paul at Trufan, Man United. Please do comment to us at We Follow United if you're listening. Let us know what you found shocking about it. I mean, I saw glimpses, as Chris Clay mentioned there, in the previous tweet of things that we can do going forward that are a lot better. So I'm interested to see. You're the only one that came in with less than a 6 as well. So please let us know a little bit more detail why it was you thought that. At Cogsy666 says, much needed 3 points, some improvement, but papering over cracks, I feel. So these cracks still seem to be appearing to United fans. He gives it a 6 out of 10. Go with one more. At One Love Man United, he goes with 7 out of 10. Need more of that and plenty of room for more improvement. There absolutely is, without a doubt. But as I said at the start of the show, 3 points a crucial thing. Get the results in now, and hopefully with that, performances will come. Maybe not under Louis van Gaal, maybe things will change over the summer, but performances will come. If we breed the right results, confidence, and hopefully performances will come. Moving on then, away from the Swansea game, we revisited some areas, some similar topics that we've asked you about before. Just wanted to see where people's opinions are at the moment with regards to a couple of key areas surrounding Manchester United. So the second topic that we got involved with this week on the fan takeover at We Follow United was that Louis van Gaal has allegedly, if I can get the words out, been promised his job is safe. Are you happy to keep Louis van Gaal until the summer? Now, in the vote that we had on there, 54% said yes, they're happy to keep Louis van Gaal till the summer, and 46% said no. So, more fans on the poll there of people that voted are happy to keep Louis van Gaal until the summer. How much that must have changed in the last sort of week or two, I don't know. Perhaps the 25 minutes against Chelsea helped. Perhaps the Swansea win helped. I don't know what's come of that, but there you go. I personally still think if the opportunity comes around to get a manager in that can do a better job for us, we still have to consider whether or not we let Van Gaal go early. I don't think we're getting Pep Guardiola, so if fans perhaps are voting, waiting on Pep to make a decision in summer, I think you might be disappointed if you're doing that. But at the same time, if we go and rush into getting a new manager on board now, there isn't really anyone that's available I would personally want anymore. I know a lot of people have been saying about Jose Mourinho. I personally think he's poison. I don't think he'd work well within the club. There could potentially be a bit of siege mentality about what he does in bringing the group together tighter, perhaps united against the world as such. But I just think in terms of the way he's been playing, he reverts back to type. When things are going badly, he goes back within his shell, and the team reflects that out on the pitch. It does get very defensive. The expression does tend to disappear. I do worry that would be very similar symptoms to what we've suffered under Louis van Gaal. So I'd be interested to see who you think would be best to take over at United. Certainly let us know. But I can see now why fans are saying wait till the summer. We've missed out on Ancelotti. He's already on his way to Bayern. I think Pep's on his way to City from the sound of things. So do we reassess in the summer? I mean, would there be any point getting anyone in now? If we give it to Giggs, I don't know why we'd give it to him when we've got top 4 to battle for. No experience whatsoever. And as I say, Mourinho, in my opinion, I wouldn't go with him. And perhaps a lot of other fans wouldn't either, which is reflected in the votes. So let us know who you'd want to take over from United. Are you going to let Louis van Gaal see out his contract? Would you let him see it out till the summer after? Let us know your thoughts on that side of things. Moving on to the next debate, though, that we got involved in on the fan takeover. If you could sign one player for Manchester United in the January window, in terms of trying to be realistic anyway, who would you buy? We asked you to put your comments in here. Some interesting ones come in. Some of the usual ones that you see, all over the back papers, or the back pages of the papers there. At Cogsy666, Mane, we desperately need a winger with pace. I completely agree with that. I think Mahrez is also very capable to do that as well. At Fan88Football, ideal player, Leroy Sané. I know he plays for Schalke. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I know he's sort of an attacking player. I'll be honest, I've not seen a lot of him. And there's been rumours as well that Manchester City are in for him. Whether or not he could do the job, I don't know, but that's certainly what at Fan88Football seems to think. It also says Januzaj brought back in summer to replace Mata and a dynamic midfield like Gomez or Ali. So some interesting suggestions there. He also suggests that Felipe Anderson is realistic as well. This one's been doing the rounds since summer. I remember it very well. I don't know if we're going to get hold of someone like Felipe Anderson. Certainly the cogs are back turning again. The wheels are in motion for the move yet again. I don't know if this is Lazio trying to play, to get the market involved in taking the player off their hands. Or whether it's Felipe Anderson's agent just trying to get him some more money. I don't know. Interesting to see. We've got one here from Deepak Siani. Says Isco, someone that's very often overlooked. More dynamic and pacey than Mata. Can play inside forward as well. Which Sane Kani says as well. So, a couple of players within this sort of wing mould, but can also sort of play inside as another forward option, seems to be popular amongst fans. At S. Thompson PGA says Lukaku. Chris agrees with him at Big C75. He says Lukaku as well. Laporte is mentioned by at RendyF_MU. So a couple of interesting players in there. A couple of people mentioned Stones on there as well at Winnie_80 and at Bertie Birdman. They both go with John Stones. So a couple of defensive options in there. I think Laporte is probably the better option in terms of right here, right now. John Stones, in terms of potential, could be significantly better. I personally think right now we just need some experience in the squad, so that's perhaps why I would overlook Stones for now. And at Elhair33 says Igalo. That's an interesting one. One that's not been brought up by anyone else on the sort of vote that we had out there in terms of players to sign, but he has had an exceptional season at Watford, so could he do a job for Manchester United? Let us know what your thoughts are on that. But a lot of players, as I say, mentioning sort of wingers come inside forwards, so I personally think you've got to go for a centre-forward backup. If you can get someone that is versatile, again, as I mentioned earlier, Louis van Gaal loves versatility, so if you can get someone that plays on the wing as well, that's probably going to be ideal for him. But I think if you're going to sign one player during January, I mean, I've heard, and it's not been mentioned on the comment section here, reports about Aubameyang from Borussia Dortmund. He's a player that I've liked for a long time now. And Nick often mentions on the podcast about a lack of pace in United's squad, which I don't think is entirely our problem, but certainly is part of the problem. I think if you bring in someone like Aubameyang, who's been firing on all cylinders, albeit in a slightly worse Bundesliga, he's been exceptional, and he has got bags of pace, and I think he could grow into playing a great role at Manchester United. So if I had the choice, I would probably go with him. I think an attacking player is slightly more needed at the moment than a defensive player for January, at least anyway. Moving on to the penultimate topic then from the fan takeover this week. Simply, do you think United will make top 4 this season? 80% of fans said yes, 20% going no. This is a difficult one for me to answer because it seemed at the start of the season, and it seemed for the majority of the season, that we were just coasting into a top 4 position. Now, of course, Leicester have shocked everyone in the way they've started the season and maintained it well over the Christmas period despite dropping off last couple of games. But this season's top 4 could literally go to one of about 6, 7, maybe even 8 clubs the way the season has gone. I do think we'll squeeze in there. That's certainly what my heart's saying anyway. I don't know if my head agrees with that necessarily, but I think within the top 4 you can definitely say that Arsenal and Manchester City have top 4 places secured. I also personally think Tottenham are going to get a top 4 place this season. I really like what Pochettino's done, and just going back to the mentions that we gave earlier about management coming into United going forward, we should certainly consider Mauricio Pochettino, if he'd be willing to leave Spurs, that is. He's been exceptional. I really like what he did at Southampton, and I really like what he's doing with Tottenham as well. He's come in, and rather than just removing Deadwood for the sake of it to please the fans, which is kind of what Louis van Gaal and Ed Woodward ended up doing to a certain extent, he's come in and got rid of the sort of troublemakers, the people who weren't pulling their weight, and sort of brought players through the academy, brought players in who did have some attitude about them, but the attitude to play football, being brave, completely fearless. And I think we certainly need to consider someone like Pochettino going forward. I think he would play the United way, dare I say it, a lot better than we've seen since Sir Alex Ferguson left. But I am going to agree with the 80% going back to the topic. I do think United will edge their way in, possibly after Arsenal, City and Spurs into 4th place. I think Leicester will potentially drop off over the remainder of the season. They're relying on 2 players remaining firing on all cylinders at the moment, so I think they might drop out. And Liverpool are a team that we always have to be worried about slipping into top 4 as well. They've not clicked yet under Klopp, particularly, but some of their footballing parts has been better, so you do have to always watch out for them coming up behind us as well. Going on to the final topic from this week's Fan Takeover then, do you see United winning a trophy in 2016? Depressing vote here, 71% of fans saying no, the other 29% going with yes. And at Bertie Birdman goes, not with LVG, is his thoughts. At Cogsy666 says Arsenal's 4th place trophy maybe, depressing. And at C Clay 1978 United saying, I'd love to think so, we have a chance but it'll be tough. The fact that Chris doesn't necessarily think we'll win one says it all really. He's probably the most optimistic person we have knocking around on Red Devil Chronicle. I don't think we'll win one this season. If I had my vote on there, I'd go with no as well. I would agree again with the majority. I think we'd have a great chance in winning the Europa League. I just don't think we can take it seriously because we have to make sure that we make top 4. And I think as a result of that, we are going to have to park that as probably a second, maybe even third priority. It can't be number 1 priority for us. I've seen David De Gea's come out with a statement saying, we've got a great chance of winning it. Yeah, we absolutely have, but we can't take it that seriously at the expense of missing out on top 4. Obviously winning the Europa League would get us back into the Champions League, but I just think there'd be a problem with United slipping down the table. That's not a habit that I want us to get into. We need to be finishing at least top 4. We do need to be battling up there, and I think if you go after the Europa League, yes, we could win it, but anyone can beat anyone in the final. I'd much rather just sew it up during the normal Premier League season, just by going on a good run of form in games that we can win, games that aren't cup final type visits anyway. That's my thoughts. In terms of the FA Cup, Sheffield United ahead. We're going to have a quick chat through the weekend preview to end the Chronicles Express in a moment, discussing the Sheffield United game. I think we should be coming through that. I think if we don't, then Van Gaal will have serious pressure put back on him all over again. But going forward, I don't know if we'll put enough together to win the FA Cup. I don't know if distractions of Europe and trying to stay in the top 4 battle, potential title hunt as well, if you believe we can go that far, will ultimately lead to us going out of the FA Cup to someone with a better squad than us. There is plenty of teams now with good squad depth, and you can only see teams like Manchester City, Arsenal, again, the obvious contenders, going far, if not the distance in that competition. Let us know if you have had a vote on that. If you have voted for yes, if you're one of the 29%, which trophy do you think we can win? Can we win the Europa League? Will we win it? Will we win the FA Cup? Will we win the Premier League? Are you optimistic enough to put your neck on the line and say that? Do let us know at WeFollowUnited. And thanks to everyone, as always, who got involved with all the debates that we had on Twitter this week on the Fan Takeover. And as I say, to end this week's show, and the first show of the new year, we're going to be distracted by the FA Cup as Sheffield United visit Old Trafford. Weekend preview coming up next. It's the Saturday 5:30 kick-off. It's Manchester United against Sheffield United. A big game from Old Trafford. A chance for a trophy, as I mentioned, in the FA Cup third round as we enter the tournament. Whether or not we'll take the opportunity, we'll soon find out. But it's certainly something that we haven't done in recent years, so we will need to pick our game up if we are going to go the distance. Just going to have a quick look at Sheffield United in terms of where they're up to, in terms of their stats, in terms of key players to look out for, and what threat, if any, they might be able to provide to us at Old Trafford in potentially mounting a huge upset. If you look at Sheffield United's current form, in their last 6 in all competition, 4 wins, 1 draw and 1 defeat. So in good form at the moment, having only been beaten once in the last 6. They're also just outside the playoffs in League One, hoping to try and push back into the Championship, where, of course, they've spent the majority of their life in the last sort of decade or so. And, of course, they were in the Premier League briefly as well. So they are a team of past talents. They're not where they should be at the moment. So, they'll be looking to prove some doubters wrong, and they'll be looking to make a big statement at Old Trafford. They're certainly going to be capable of doing so. In terms of their away form at the moment, looking back at their last 6 away in all competition, slightly different story. 4 draws, only 1 win and only 1 defeat. So they have been draw specialists on the road, including 1 back at Fleetwood away in a previous round of the Cup, in which they came through on penalties. So they are going to be tough to break down. It seems that they set up rather well, having only been beaten once in their last 6, having drawn 4 of their last 6 away from home. We are going to have to go at them a bit. We are going to have to be more positive, as we have been against Chelsea, in the opening stages, and against Swansea a little bit more often. We are going to have to go at them. They are going to come and sit back again, as most teams will do at Old Trafford. They will probably sit deep, sit tight, and they are capable of keeping, it tight at the back as well. But we shouldn't doubt them going forward. We certainly shouldn't be writing them off, because our defence, as I mentioned earlier on in the show, has been shaky, and they have got a couple of very decent players. Billy Sharp is one of their key players to watch out for on Saturday, formerly, of course, of Doncaster. If you follow football at sort of Championship League One levels, then you'll know Billy Sharp's name very well. A prolific goalscorer at Doncaster, very good and capable player. He's Sheffield United's top goalscorer this season with 11 goals. That's more than anyone at United, just for the record this season. Dean Hammond, another very good player that they have moving into the midfield. I believe he's on loan from Leicester at the moment, formerly a Southampton player, so certainly Premier League experienced midfielder, and he certainly knows how to put himself about in a game as well. So he'll provide a bit of steel in the midfield for Sheffield United as well. A couple of other decent attacking options that they have got. Who they'll start on the day, I don't know of these, but they have got Connor Salmon on loan from Derby. Never really did it in the Premier League when he was at Wigan, but he'll have something to prove if he does play. And of course, there was the youngster Jose Baxter. He's at Sheffield United these days as well. Promising individual, still only 23, seems like he's been on the scene for a long time. Never quite pushed through to the top level, or certainly hasn't as yet. But certainly, again, a very capable player. And the squad in general, Sheffield United, they have got some good names in there, a very solid, reliable setup. And so they will be out to cause us the upset. And they have every right to be confident in doing so. If you look back at United's record in the FA Cup in recent years, we haven't made a final since 2007. Last time we made a semi-final was 2011. So that'll be 5 years this year, if we don't get there, that we haven't even visited Wembley in the FA Cup. In the quarters, of course, last year we got knocked out against Arsenal last season by that goal by that guy Welbs, of course. Welbeck scoring the winner in the 2-1 win there. And the season before, of course, we got beat 2-1 as well at Old Trafford again. That was against Swansea, but that was in round 3. Going back to the year before that, it was Chelsea that we got through to in the quarters. That was a replay. I think it was 1-0. We got beat at Stamford Bridge in the replay of the fixture. So a couple of bad years, to say the least, for United. Haven't won the competition for what would be 12 years now, won't it, going into 2016. So it's been a long time coming. Whether or not we can give ourselves a chance to get into round 4, which we've struggled to do the season before last, of course, as I mentioned, against Swansea or not. Who's to say? Sheffield United will come to Old Trafford confident, and we'll have to be on our game to make sure that we avoid any further criticism coming our way and any further pressure being heaped on Louis van Gaal. Big weekend then coming ahead. A distraction from the Premier League, but a chance to go out and try and put a statement out there in the FA Cup. Please let us know if you've got anything you'd like to say about anything we've covered on today's show, whether you agree with us or not. Certainly do get in contact with us. We're at We Follow United on Twitter. You can also put your comments in the comment section below. We will always look to respond to them as quickly as we can. So thanks as always for listening. We should be back in the studio, as I say, hopefully with Nick and producer Joe back by my side again. But as I say, thanks as always for listening, and we'll see you next week.